Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another concert review here on the channel. We are trying to get out there as much as we possibly can, see some live music. And I don't know, a couple months ago, Mr. Eric Porter was like, "Hey, you have any interest in seeing Toto doing like a one-off kind of headlining show?" Because they're out touring with Journey. And I was like, "Yes." And because Toto is a band I've been into for probably 40 plus years, I've never seen them live. And I wanted to make it happen, and I was well prepared to go see them open up for Journey just so I could see them for an hour to say that I finally did it. So when Eric said, "Pete, they're playing at the Egg headline show, what do you say?" And I said, "Yes. Thank you, sir. I appreciate the invite." And they didn't disappoint, huh?
No, and thank you, because I think without you talking about them, other than, I've gotten into Lukather listening to Sharinian, but I knew the pop stuff and the stuff that was played on the radio, but you had always talked about
It's only a small part of the
exactly
story, right? Yeah.
So
yeah.
Thank you as well, because I would have been sitting home otherwise had I not, had we not discussed them. So
Yeah. So this was Wednesday the 15th up in Albany, New York, in the Empire Plaza. They have this cool venue called the Egg. If any of you have been up to Albany, New York, our state capital, and driven by the government center there in the right in the middle of the city, there's this weird shaped building that looks like an egg with the top chopped off, right? So within there and within the building, there's a couple different venues. We were at the larger one, which Eric, I think we said holds somewhere between 800 and 1,000.
I think it's close to 1,000. Like we talked about, I think the smaller venue is 400, and this one's 9 something, somewhere in there.
Yeah, so if you've been following the channel and watching our various concert reviews, we have reviewed other shows from the Egg. We saw Wishbone Ash at the smaller venue. I saw King Crimson at the one we just went to. There have been a few others, but it's a great. Steve Hackett plays there when he goes on tour, and it has been, in more recent years, a lot of the legendary and more notable prog bands tend to play shows there, as well as other rock and folk and pop acts as well. And the acoustics are amazing at this place. It's never too loud. You can hear everything. The seats are comfortable. You're not on top of each other, and it's all stadium seating. So no matter where you sit, there's no bad seat, right? There's no blocked views from the soundboard or pillars or any of that sort of thing. Wonderful place.
Agreed. I just saw Steve Morse there a couple weeks ago. I know you couldn't make it up for that show, but I always keep my eye on that because it's an easy in and out, parking and everything else. It's if there's a perfect place, that's the place.
That's it. Yeah. And you hit the nail on the head. If you're traveling in town from outside, it's literally right off the highway. You pull right into the parking garage, take an elevator, and you're there. If you want to go do something beforehand, I mean, we went to this place called City Beer Hall for a bite to eat and a couple beers. I mean, that's also within like a 3 to 5 minute walk right from there. You got the MVP Arena, which is the big, hockey arena, which is right next door as well. So when the big bands play there, so it's a nice little area for live music, and so this was good. So Eric, I don't know if you want to run through the guys in the band, because they got a little bit of a lineup here, change here, like from recent years. I mean, this band has been together for a couple of years now, but I think as far as like people going to see them live, it's a little bit of a different lineup.
Yeah, so obviously Steve Lukather, guitar, vocals, Joseph Williams, lead singer. They had Warren Ham, who was playing sax, percussion. He was doing congos. He played flute, kind of your multi-purpose guy there.
And he sings too.
Yeah, he sings. I think it's Xavier Taplin is keyboards. I think they said he played with Prince.
Yep.
And John Pierce, who, great story from Lukather. Apparently they grew up in the same neighborhood. They're same age, because he said they made a joke about how their mothers were pregnant with them at the same time. I mean, Can you imagine playing in a band with your next door neighbor or whatever it was, childhood buddy? I thought that was a great story. John Pierce, and he had played with Huey Lewis and the News
for many years.
Many years. Robert Spot Searlight was on the drums, and I hope to be seeing. I don't know if he's still playing with Snarky Puppy, but they mentioned he had played with Snarky Puppy. I'm not sure who else he played with, but I think all these guys have had, tons of time with other acts. And I think the final, they had two keyboard players, Steve, sorry if I mispronounce this, Magoria on keyboards and also vocals.
Yeah, and he's from kind of an up and coming kind of like Southern rock band called Robert John and the Wreck.
Oh,
So
okay.
all these guys have done plenty of stuff out there. John
Yeah.
Pierce also played with Pablo Cruz at one point, and I
okay.
think that Sput, the drummer, I could have sworn they said the other night when Lukather introduced him to he's also played with Snoop Dogg.
Snoop, yes. And something about Ghost Note. I think there must be a new band that he's a part of, because I know they mentioned that band and they were saying check them out. So
Yeah,
don't know
because I
anything
think
about
that
them, but
Sput and Dominic Xavier or Xavier Taplin, whatever, however he says his name. Ghost Note is the band that they have together,
gotcha.
which
Okay.
will be interesting to hear what that. I mean, everybody in the band really impressive. Really impressive.
Very.
And then, of course, you got Lukather, founding member. Joseph Williams been in the band a million years. And we didn't get one of the David Paich appearances because David Paich is, of course, their founding member, keyboardist, songwriter, and vocalist, who is basically retired from the road.
Okay.
But he does make some special appearances here and there for a song or two. I was kind of hoping we get to see him the other
He
night.
does still record with them, right? I mean, he's considered kind of part of the band still, I guess.
I guess, yeah. I don't know whether they will record again. I don't know. I would like to see a record from this version of the band. I think because based on what we saw the other night, that would be really good. You know, we one of the first things we said when we walked out of the show, how nice it must be to be in a band where you have four terrific lead singers. Because Lukather is a really good singer.
He is.
Joseph is a great singer. And then you got the other keyboard player, what was his name again? Steve sings a couple songs.
Yep.
And then you got Warren also sang one song as well and does backing vocals. And any one of these guys on their own is a terrific singer. And not every band has that.
No.
So it's like a four-headed monster. And then, you got the drumming was off the charts good. He did a drum solo, rock solid bass playing. The keyboard work was great. And Xavier did a bunch of cool leads and exchanges with Lukather. So, I mean, all in all, granted, I've been following this band for a long time. I know how impressive they are. I've always said to anybody who would listen that if all you know from Toto is the 2 or 3 radio, 3 big radio hits and maybe a couple others, you're missing this kind of like jazz fusion prog hard rock monster that is Toto, because they are and always have been very, very capable. So I want to get your take as a first, kind of like like you're kind of a first timer with this band, right? So after seeing the show the other night, are you interested in diving into their catalog now to kind of hear?
Well, I'll tell you what, I did. I came home and obviously I didn't know all the songs. So I went out, got the set list, and then I've been going through the live albums to see which songs appear on those, because there was stuff like, and I know we'll run through some of the songs, but is it White Sister? Yeah. I thought was amazing. And again, I knew the popular stuff. I think what got me was, they take a couple of those songs, they'll extend the jams out a little bit. So it's nice to get to hear those guys play. And I was really impressed at how engaged they were with each other and with the audience. And, when you and I go to shows these days, you kind of, it's normally an older crowd for the bands we see. There were kids there. And there were kids. Did you see that kid up in front? I don't know if he was with his parents or what, but he was on Lukather and the other keyboard player. And that kid was up dancing, looking at it. I mean, I was impressed crowd response wise. People were singing. We were up a lot. Right. I mean, they got the crowd up, but I really enjoyed the instrumental sections they got to do that when they'd extend the songs. And like you said, I mean, these guys, I think that's what impressed me the most is, and read about this band and how good they are. They've done sessions with countless other artists, but so impressive live, so impressive. And for somebody, like you said, I don't know their material. So the answer to your question is yes, I am going to go pursue some stuff, and I'll get some studio stuff, I'm sure. But the live stuff, I definitely want to start with something live, I think.
Yeah, I'll give you after off air, I'll give you some recommendations of where to start, because there's definitely albums I think you should hone in on, and there's others that probably you don't need to worry about right off the bat, knowing you and knowing what you like. So and I will say, I've had the chance to talk to him, obviously, here on the show. So I kind of had an inkling of this. And if you've watched enough interviews with Steve Lukather or even read his book or followed his career at all, he's very entertaining and he's very personable. And the vibes I got from talking to him on the Zoom call is the same kind of vibes you get from him on stage. He jokes, he tells stories, he interacts and keeps you into everything that's going on. Never mind that he's a freaking fantastic guitar player. I mean, that goes beyond saying. But now we were joking before, and I said, Lukather's not coloring his hair anymore, so he's done the Brian May thing. So he's got this wild white head of hair that's flying all over the place, and it just, yeah, I mean, he's like the total package, right? He's like a total rock star package, and you can tell he is having the time of his life up there. And you think about it, God, some of these songs without spoiling it, the second to last song they played before the final encore was Africa. And he basically, after they played Rosanna, which was great, he goes up to the mic, he goes, well, you guys ready to hear that song? I know you all came here to hear, right? And he's probably thinking, because he's gone on record as saying he never liked Africa, but of course it's made the band a shit ton of money, right? So, he never once seems like he's not having a blast up there and going through the motions. And that, I think, after all these years and all these tours, there's something to be said for that. And if you go to see them open up for Journey, I think they play 10 songs. When you go see them headline, this was 17 songs.
17, yeah.
Yeah, so you get like an extra half hour. I think they have an hour slot opening up for Journey. So I don't know how many more of these headline shows they're going to be doing. But if you have an opportunity, if you like the band a lot and you have the opportunity, I would say go, because they played some terrific deep cuts. And we got a couple differences on this show from the last time they headlined not that long ago that I was pleasantly surprised about. Because I remember looking at the set list from their last headline gig, and I was like, that looks really good. That'll be fun. And then all of a sudden they pulled out a couple other things that were not on that on the previous set. And I was like, oh man, I am psyched. So why don't we do that? So why don't we run through some of the tracks here? So a lot of songs have love in it, right? That doesn't mean they're all ballads though. So they started off with Afraid of Love. Great track. And again, it's just a total feel good Toto song, up tempo rock track with lots of hooks. Then, the set list, I think, was structured very smartly, because the second song, let's pull the audience right in with Hold the Line, right? And everybody's up and going nuts. And I don't know about you, but I think, to me, Hold the Line got the best response of any song the entire night. It seemed to me.
People got into it, and kind of what you said, because I didn't know Afraid of Love. So then right away, bang, here's one I know. I get to hear Luke play his ass off. Second song of the set. So I'm like, and it did that for me. Yeah. And like you said, I'm sure they know a lot of people are going that know the hits and maybe don't know the deep stuff. So like you said, it's because I first thought, wow, they're playing this already. But then I'm thinking, well, smart move, like you said. So
you kind of have to, right? I mean, I think, and then they threw in Falling in Between, which was the title track to an album they released, God, whatever that was, 8, 9, 10 years ago, which is a terrific album, but that, probably not a lot of people, I'm assuming hardly anybody in the audience, unless they're real hardcore fans, knew that song. And that was another one of my favorite songs of the night, because it's a great song. It's got a great hook. It's got a great guitar work. It's kind of heavy, and that was, I think, also smart to put that early on in the set. And then they followed that up with another hit, I'll Be Over You, which was probably really the only, other than like Africa, maybe the only mellow song of the whole evening, I thought. But that's a great tune. And again, that shows the fantastic lead vocals of Steve Lukather, who really, he could sing that kind of stuff really well when he wants to. Then we got a keyboard solo, which was cool. And that led into another one of the highlights for me, which was White Sister.
Me too. Loved it. And I didn't know that song. So for something that connected, I just got into that for some reason. That was really good.
And Joseph sang his ass off on that one. Really, really good. So that was cool. Then we got the kind of funky R&B kind of Georgie Porgy. Another great song, and everybody was singing in that, because that song requires like multiple vocalists. So I thought that was really good. Then they did Pamela, which is another good AOR melodic rock song. I'm not sure if Pamela might have been released as a hit. I mean, and that I think is on their greatest hit set. So that was kind of cool to throw in there as well. And then for me, the highlight of the night, which again I did not expect because they have not been playing it, and it was dedicated to Mike Porcaro because apparently the other night was the anniversary of his death. They played the title track to Kingdom of Desire, which I guess was one of Mike's favorite songs or albums or whatnot. So Lukather gave a little, hello to his buddy in heaven. And Kingdom of Desire, for anybody who doesn't know, one of my favorite Toto albums, came out in the early 90s. It's their heaviest album. It's got loads of Lukather guitar work, and he does most of the lead vocals too. It's very much a Lukather album. And Kingdom of Desire is this like dark, slow, moody, rocking track. And then he even said it before he played. He goes, I'm going to have a little bit of fun with this one. And what did he go? Like a 2-minute plus guitar solo, which was like face melting. I mean, at one point we're just watching this and I banged your knee and I'm like, are you getting all this? This is like crazy, right? It was just so good. So good. Then we got a drum solo, which is pretty cool. I mean, we still get drum solos nowadays. And that was very good. Guy's a great player. Then You Are the Flower, Waiting for Your Love. Then I'll Supply the Love. I'll Supply the Love is loads of fun.
Now that's another one. I know that song.
You've heard it, yeah.
I didn't know it was Toto.
Yeah.
And they started playing that. I'm like, oh, wow. Okay. So
that's an early gem in their catalog. Because they actually, if you listen to like some of and it's good because it's funky, but it rocks, right? Great crispy guitars from Lukather on that. And I'm trying to remember, Warren came out and sang lead vocals on one song, and I'm trying to think, was that Home of the Brave or was it Waiting for Your Love? I don't remember which song he came out and sang on, but he did like co-lead vocals.
Yeah, he did come out. I think it was Home of the Brave, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't remember. But I mean, vocally, everybody was just spot on the whole night. And then, the last 2 tracks of the regular set was Rosanna, which everybody was up for that. And his solo at the end of that was terrific. Really, really good. Then they played Africa, and then they came out for the last track was basically, for those who don't know, the band released a live over the internet album and Blu-ray or DVD, like got a year and a half ago or so, that they did during the pandemic, called With a Little Help from My Friends. And that was basically in celebration of putting a new lineup of Toto together and doing something for the fans during the pandemic when they couldn't get out and play live. So they did this kind of live album and video. And so basically, as their last song of the evening, they did the cover of the Beatles classic, right? Which kind of, I think they took after the Joe Cocker version of it a little bit more so than the Beatles version, which was kind of cool. But yeah, hour and 35 minutes. Yeah. Let all of us old guys get home early, or a decent hour for me because I had a 90-mile drive. So I was home a couple minutes after 11. So it worked for me. So I thoroughly enjoyed this. I thought they sounded great. The sound was perfect. They played their asses off. The vocals were great. The crowd was fun and into it. I really couldn't complain about anything other than maybe wanting to hear a couple other favorites of mine that they didn't play. You can't get everything, right? So your impressions of the evening overall, I guess.
The same. Obviously my focus was on Lukather, and I'll be the first one to admit that I'm always out there giving vocals a hard time. And to hear those guys live, so they're playing live, playing their butts off, and singing like that was unbelievable. So that impressed me to no end. As tight as that band was, that was another thing, was like, you're just sitting there and sitting back, and I'm taking in the songs that I don't know. And, they kept me interested. So not knowing the tunes and getting into them, I was kind of, tracking, going back and forth and watching these guys play. I loved the interaction they had, like I said, between themselves and the audience. I thought they were great doing that. And like you said, you mentioned to me, Lukather's a road dog. And the fact that, like you said, they've been doing this. What was Toto's first album? 78, 79? Or is
70, it 77, 78. Yeah, way back.
So for him to be out there doing this after all those years, you can't fake. I don't think you can fake that enjoyment. And I just watched him. He just seemed lit up. He was Lukather especially was interacting with the crowd. I think Williams was back and forth. He'd be singing on either side of the stage. I love that stuff. I love when they're, it wasn't somebody standing up there like a stiff for an hour and a half. That they were really into the show, great playing. Made me a fan, or more of a fan. I mean, like I said, I like those songs. I just had never pursued them in terms of collecting albums and things like that. But yeah, we'll be talking. I'll be picking up some stuff.
So, as someone who is kind of new to the music, know the hits, were you at all surprised by the extreme musicality of this band and how they like weave in all these little complex bits and things like all throughout their songs, you know, for the most part?
Yeah, I think so, because when you think of a pop song, not that there can't be, there's always been complex music in pop music, but just to watch them playing and you sitting there and watching what's going on in those songs, little keyboard. They had two good keyboard players and they're both kind of doing different things.
Yeah.
The drummer, fantastic stuff. So I'm thinking, it's hard enough, I'm sure, to write a catchy tune or a hit tune, but you're not writing it. These are not 3-chord songs that they're very complex musically. Yeah, just absolutely impressed with that band and the music.
Cool. It's always good when you go see a concert, never mind a band for the first time. And I think what was really cool about us going to this is because I've been a fan for ages, seeing them for a first time, and you are kind of like new to them, seeing them for the first time. So I think we both went in with maybe different expectations, and I think the expectations were met, surpassed, and that's a good thing in my book. And after seeing that, I'm like, I would welcome seeing them again, because it's like, sometimes these bands get on and you're like, how much longer they're going to tour, and you're thinking, all right, I got to see them finally, and maybe the one and only time. And now after that show, it's kind of like, man, I would welcome the opportunity to go check them out again, whether opening up for another band or going and seeing them, preferably headline. And I mean, when I talked to Lukather himself, I mean, one of the things he told me, he's like, man, he goes, it's exactly what he says. I'm a road dog. That's what I do. I go out and I tour. He goes, sitting at home for months on end or whatever. He goes, I get antsy. I just want to go out there and play. That's what I do. It's all I know. So whether they can continue to call it Toto for years on end, I know there was a lot of issues with that at some point about whether they could use the name. I guess they got all that worked out. But would I go see Steve Lukather do like a solo tour, playing some Toto hits and some of the solo stuff? I would do that as well, because he's a pretty terrific. He's one of those guys, Eric, that I think when all is said and done, we're going to look back on the career of Steve Lukather, and some of us are going to say, I think we took this guy for granted all those years, because I think he's been one of music's true treasures for a long, long time. And when Lukather is retired, or maybe when he's no longer with us, we're going to look at the body of work that he has done. Never mind just the Toto albums. I mean, this guy has played on some of the biggest albums in history that nobody even knows about. Yep. If you go look, and it's like, oh, Lukather played on that. Oh, Lukather played on all those Michael Jackson and Lionel Richie albums, and Lukather played on this, and he's everywhere. He's everywhere. Just folks watching, go on Wikipedia, look up Lukather on Wikipedia, and go look at his recorded works and his discography. It's enormous. When you see all the albums he has played guitar on over the years, you are going to be mesmerized. It's just crazy, crazy, crazy. So yeah, he's one of our true musical treasures for sure. And if all you know by Toto is Africa and Rosanna, it's a lot more than that. Let me tell you, a lot more than that. So cool. So there you have it, everybody. If you get a chance to go catch Toto on one of these, one-off headline shows, go see it. Otherwise, they're out on the road with Journey for the foreseeable future, so you'll have plenty of opportunity to go catch them. And like I said, I think they're playing a full hour opening up the Journey tour, so you'll get to see plenty of stuff. You won't get to see everything that we got to see the other night, but I think an hour's worth of Toto is still a really good thing. And I'm personally very happy for them that they're playing in front of big crowds again, because, one of the things, if you read Steve's autobiography or know anything about Toto, they went from, they were huge in the 80s, and then they had a long drought where they could barely get arrested here in North America. So I think it's really good that the people are kind of remembering who Toto is and was, and they're getting the opportunity to play in front of big crowds again who appreciate their music. So it's a good thing.
I was going to say, if anything, what I got from that was the crowd. I mean, they had to be feeding off that too. The crowd was really into that show.
Yeah.
I mean, so
Yeah.
hopefully they're getting, I think they were getting that. They definitely seem to be enjoying that. So
Yeah, I
and
hope so.
what are they playing it with in front of Journey? Those are probably the arenas, right? 20,000 seaters.
You
So
figure 10 to 20 night after night after night, right? They're in the spring and summer they'll be doing all the outdoor stuff, but I think they're mainly right now playing in hockey arenas. So yeah, you're looking 10 to 20,000 every single night, and maybe more than that when they start doing the outdoor shows and the weather warms up. So
right.
yeah, that's got to be great for them. And it's not the first rodeo where they've done, a tour like that, because they've been doing that in the last couple of years. They've been, I think they were out with Yes for a while.
Okay.
And, they've been on and off with Journey for a bit. But it must be nice for them to be able to go and play 1,000-seater as a headliner, for the first time in a while. So I'm very happy for them, because
I did look, Pete. So, I don't know if Journey's taken a couple, it looks like at least a time or two a week. I don't know if Journey takes like a couple days off, and it looks like they're popping stuff, in between. So they must want to get out there and keep playing, or they don't want to sit around for 2 days. So they pick a spot in
Why not?
between.
Well, if they're making money at it, and if people are packing them in, they should be doing that.
Definitely.
So it's a win-win for everybody, I think. So there you have it, everybody. So if you are someone who has seen them on a recent tour, let us know what you thought of their set, either opening or headlining, down in the comments below. And we'll see you here on another concert review whenever that happens. So stay tuned for stuff coming up here on the channel. So of course we got Ranking the Albums on Sunday, and then on Tuesday we've got In the Prog Seat, where Eric, myself, and the rest of the In the Prog Seat team will be doing another album study. And this time around it's Coliseum 2, the album War Dance, a great album from the 70s. If you haven't heard it, you'll hear all about it on Tuesday. So stay tuned for that, and a lot more. Visit us on the web at www.seaoftranquility.org. We're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, all together, all the damn time. For Eric Porter, I am Pete Pardo. Enjoy your weekend. Thanks for joining us here on this little concert review, and we'll see you real soon here. Take care. Bye-bye.